Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into something really fascinating. How do you actually turn government policy into, well, real power for people? We're looking specifically at Brazil's efforts to get citizens involved in public policies, health, sanitation, education. Our mission today is to sort of figure out what the research says about this gap, between the laws written down and what's actually happening on the ground.
Yeah, and what's really compelling here is how Brazil's whole legal system, especially since the 1988 Constitution, really tried to make community involvement a core principle. But like our source material shows, there's a big difference. We hear the term social control a lot, the idea that citizens oversee policy, but the talk around this, the discourse, it doesn't always mean effective mobilization. And that means getting people truly organized, empowered to act. So it really makes you ask, how much has all that legal intention actually led to, empowered action by communities?
Okay, right. Let's unpack that evolution a bit.
Yeah.
The sources we looked at show that earlier laws like the '88 Constitution, the 1990 health laws, they use pretty general terms. Things like community participation or setting up councils.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that phrases like social participation or social mobilization, even organized society, those were often, well, missing.
Exactly.
And social control, that specific concept, it seems that only really starts popping up in laws from this century, the 21st century, like the 2007 sanitation policy or the 2014 education plan.
That's a really key point. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it suggests this gradual shift in how participation is even understood legally. The health sector, for instance, it's got this long history, right? Health councils, big conferences like the 8th National Health Conference back in '86. It's often seen as having the most, let's say, established tradition here. But even there, the study points out, these councils can sometimes end up just, rubber stamping decisions made by managers, not really genuine tools for community empowerment. It highlights a challenge we see everywhere. Really, how do you stop participation just being a box-ticking exercise?
Right, turning it into real change. So, okay, given that challenge even in health, what about other areas like sanitation, education? How do they stack up with this idea of effective social control?
Well, it's quite varied. Sanitation, especially with that 2007 national policy, it is notable because it brings in the term social control. But the law often doesn't really spell out how that control through actual mobilization is supposed to happen, the practical steps. What really stands out, though, in the research is the 2010 National Solid Waste Policy. Apparently, it's the only law they looked at that explicitly uses the term social mobilization as the way to get effective participation.
Wow, okay, that's a huge difference. Just that one law explicitly naming mobilization. So when a policy does mention it or hints at it, are there tools or programs to make it happen?
Yeah, and this is where, practical initiatives are so important. There's this program, the National Environmental Education and Social Mobilization for Sanitation Program, PMSS for short. It started developing back in 2005, I think. It seems like a really key instrument here. Its whole aim is to foster participation that's collective, critical, transformative, encouraging people to really get involved. The goal is getting communities to actively contribute and exercise that social control, right? From like planning things out all the way to checking if they work. It feels like a vital step to bridge the gap left by older policies, like the 1999 environmental education policy, which kind of surprisingly didn't have any specific terms for social participation or mobilization.
So wrapping this up, what really stands out to me from all this is, well, while Brazilian policies have definitely moved forward in talking about social participation, the actual effectiveness, social control, really driven by strong social mobilization.
Yeah.
That seems like it's still very much a work in progress. It's clearly not enough just to write laws or set up councils. The real heavy lifting is enabling society to be empowered, organized, and truly mobilized from the community level up.
Exactly right. The study basically concludes that real social participation needs more than just formal spaces. It needs actions that genuinely empower people, empower groups, allowing for a kind of transformative approach to reality. So communities aren't just reacting, they're actively reshaping things locally, right where they live. And it leaves us with a pretty big thought, doesn't it? Are we, as a society, actually ready to do more than just participate in the formal sense? Are we ready to effectively mobilize and really demand the deep changes that are needed?